Okay. Make my screen a wee bit bigger here. Okay. Okay, so once you're ready, you're welcome to reach for your block, your cushion, whatever you need. And then just find yourself in any comfortable seated position. And just taking a moment just to even notice where the legs have landed. Maybe just experimenting with changing the distance, noticing what that's like. Just inviting any movement to help support greater comfort in this shape. And as you're ready, you're welcome just to take a moment just to look around the room, noticing where you are, and in particular, seeing if you can notice what the eyes are drawn to. And can you notice any objects in your space that might be resourcing? Could be things that bring about a sense of comfort, something pleasant to look at. Or if those things aren't available today, you might choose something that's a bit more neutral. Maybe the color of the wall, and maybe experimenting with what it feels like to turn around in both directions. If there's a window, maybe taking a moment to look out the window. And if you don't have one, imagining as though there is a window, allowing the eyes to settle as though you're looking out into the horizon. If there's any doors or exits, just supporting your nervous system and noticing where those are. And then coming back to your seated position. And you might have noticed I was doing a little bit of kind of gentle rubbing on the thighs. You might choose to do something like that, or even just rocking side to side, or some combination of both. And just taking a moment with eyes open or closed, there's no right or wrong, just to tune inward and just acknowledge whatever's here in this moment. Maybe even taking a moment to just invite one of the hands to come over the heart, the other one over the abdomen. You can continue your rocking if you chose to do that. And just feeling the support of the hands on the body. Taking a moment to sense into the warmth of the hands. Maybe even thanking yourself for making room and prioritizing taking some time for movement today. And as you're ready, you might let the hands go. And if the body's still, inviting you just to introduce small movements, right? So if you're rocking, you can keep doing that. Maybe just experimenting with just inviting different types of movement, maybe side to side, but also maybe front and back. With hands on the knees, you might even experiment with just creating little circles. And seeing if you can really sense into what it feels like to move in this shape. Maybe you're noticing a little bit of a stretch in the side body as you come through the turn. Maybe there's a little bit of opening in the back body. Maybe you reverse directions if you haven't already done so. And then maybe the circles or whatever movements you're doing get a little smaller. And from here, the invitation is to take the arms out to the side. See if you can sense into the muscles of the back body. Maybe the shoulder blades are gently squeezed together. And without moving the hips, you just go side to side. Right? Almost like you could reach with each hand. Trying to keep the hips in a neutral position. Good. And then as you're ready on your next in-breath, flipping the palms up and then reaching up. Just continuing this side-to-side movement. Just helping to massage the diaphragm. It's a muscle that is really important for core stabilization, but also for breathing. So here, we're just trying to loosen up the diaphragm a little bit. Yeah. And as you're ready, let the arms come down. Maybe shake it out a little bit. Just tuning in, noticing how the body's responding to that movement. And then from here, you're welcome to reposition the legs. If they were crossed, you might switch positions, whatever one was back, maybe coming forward. And inviting you here now to bring the hands to the knees. And then on an in-breath, maybe the hands lift up, fingers spread apart. And on an exhale, maybe the fingers come together and come back down. Inhale, lifting the arms. And exhale to come back down. And as best as you can, just noticing the speed that the hands are going up and down. Maybe just asking yourself, am I comfortable with this speed, or do I wish to slow down or speed up? Can you notice if the inhale is a little bit faster or if the exhale is? There's no right or wrong, just observing. And as you're here, can you perhaps notice the pause between the inhale and the exhale? So not forcing the body into an inhale or an exhale, seeing what it's like to just notice when the body's ready for that exhale. Maybe we'll try this one more time. And just shaking it out again. Noticing those resources in the room. Looking around if that's helpful. And then as you're ready, inviting some shoulder circles. So letting the shoulders come up towards the ears. And then on an exhale, feeling the collarbones broaden as the shoulders come down. You might link your breath with your movement here, but you don't have to. Maybe noticing what it feels like to have the shoulders come up and what it feels like to notice that tension release as the shoulders come down. And if you'd like, maybe the fingertips come to the shoulders. Same thing, but just introducing a little bit of some bigger movements. Maybe the elbows are coming forward and all the way back. Maybe experimenting with what it's like to take up some space in this world. But noticing as you're doing this, is this what my body wants to be doing, or does it prefer option one? And just experimenting with the two, noticing what it's like to slow down, to sense into the muscles of the shoulders, the back body, maybe a little bit into the chest. And from here, you're welcome to let that shape go, shake it out, looking around, letting out a sigh if that feels good. Yeah. And then from here, slowly, mindfully, just letting go of this shape. And the invitation is to come into a table form, but if table is not available, I'm going to give a couple options. So one, you can come up onto the fists. The hands can be a little bit further from the shoulders if that feels better for the wrists. Or option two, just give yourself a little break and then sit back on the heels and just place the hands on the knees. Okay. So we're going to be moving through just a few rounds of cat-cow. So from here, when you're ready, either with hands on the knees or the fists on the floor, whatever's most comfortable. On your in-breath, letting the belly come down, gaze lifts up, tailbone lifts. And on your exhale, drawing the navel in as you press into the ground or the knees, rounding the upper back. And then inhale to open the chest. Exhale, drawing the navel in, pressing away. Okay, so just moving through the shape on your own in whatever way feels best for the body. Maybe just noticing whatever you notice. Does the body want to slow down or sense into any particular part of the shape? Is there a little bit of stickiness or density that you want to hang out with for a moment? You're welcome to do that. Just giving the body permission to move in whatever way feels resourcing or supportive. And wherever you are, slowing your movements down even more and inviting you to let the knees come nice and wide, almost about as wide as your mat. Maybe the big toes are coming together, and just bringing the hips down toward the heels as the arms reach forward. Maybe the forehead comes down. I'm just noticing what it's like to be in this shape, knowing that you have options. You can always bring one cheek to the floor instead. You can also lay on a pillow if that's preferred.
Just taking a moment here. And as you notice yourself breathing in this shape, can you notice the way the breath fills up the back body as you inhale? Almost like the ribs could expand in all directions. And when you're ready, gently lifting the gaze and then coming back to all fours and then slowly transitioning onto the knees. So a gentle reminder here that if you prefer some cushion for the knees, that's absolutely okay. And then as we're ready, the invitation from here is just to take that right leg forward, coming into a low lunge. All right, so the right leg is forward. That right foot is pressing into the ground, almost like you could press it into the ground and drag it back. And you're also noticing your hips. So your pelvis is slightly tucked under. That's going to help open up a little bit more on that left hip flexor. And from here, the invitation is to let the arms sweep up. Good. Maybe the gaze follows if that feels okay. Ribs are pulled in. And then on your exhale, leaning the torso forward, sending the fingertips back. Squeeze the back muscles. And then inhale, press that right foot into the ground, sweep the arms up, maybe gaze follows. And then exhale. Good. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. And then exhale into that runner's position. From here, you tuck the back toe under and then maybe lift up on that back knee as you inhale, sweep the arms up. And then exhale, sweep the fingertips back. And then from here, look right down to that right foot. See if you can bring all the weight into that right foot. Left foot joins the right. Good. Inhale, sweep your arms up. And then exhale, allow the hands to come back down. And just shaking it out a little bit. I'm just noticing what it was like for the nervous system, just to wake up those strong lower body muscles, just shaking it out. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing we just did, but this time we're going to go in reverse. Okay, so coming toward the top of your mat, can you spread your toes nice and wide, sense into all four corners of the feet, ribs are pulled in. As you're ready, inhaling, sweeping the arms up. Good, and then on your exhale, little bend of the knees, can you send that left foot back? Good, arms are still up. Take a breath here. And then exhale, sweeping fingertips back. Good, nice and slow. Can you drop that back knee? Inhale, sweep the arms up. Good, exhale, flowing the fingertips back. Good, maybe two more like that. Inhaling. And exhaling. One more inhale. Tuck the tailbone under. And then exhale, sweeping fingertips back. Good. Now from here, come back to
that beginning position on the knees, shaking it out. And then bringing one of the hands to the heart space, the other on the abdomen, and just take a moment just to notice what's happening inside. And knowing that you have options as you notice what's happening inside, can you also notice the resources in your space? What are those objects that we identified earlier? And as you're ready, the invitation is to now bring the left foot forward. Same thing, slight tuck of the tailbone, lengthening the spine, ribs pulled in. We're pressing that left foot down on the ground this time, and then the arms sweep up. And then on your exhale, fingertips sweep back. Maybe there's a little lean forward. On your inhale, can you follow the gaze between the hands? And then exhale, sweeping back. It's totally okay if there's a little bit of wobbles here, maybe a lot of wobbles. And on your exhale, sweeping back. Good. So pausing here for a moment, maybe squeezing into those back muscles. You might tuck your foot under that right foot and then lift up on that knee as you sweep up. Good. Exhale to sweep it back. Good. And then can you put all the weight into the left foot? Right foot joins the left, arms reach up, ribs pull in, and then exhale to let it go, shake it out. So just noticing the ways that the body's responding to that movement as we connect with those strong muscles that help keep us rooted down. And taking a moment in your standing shape to sense into your feet on the ground. And when you're ready, reversing it all, sweeping the arms up. Good. This time, right foot steps back, sweeping the fingertips back. Good. Nice and slow, dropping the back knee, arms sweep up. And then exhale, arms sweep back. Good. 2 more like that. As you're ready, maybe noticing the gaze between the hands. Exhale. Maybe the gaze looks down. And then 1 more like that. And exhale. Good. All right. Just shaking it out in whatever way you need. I'm on my knees, but if that doesn't feel good, you can sit down. And this time, the first option, hand on a heart, hand on the abdomen. Option 2 is to wrap that second hand just around the ribs. There's no right or wrong. And just sensing into the body. Can you notice breath filling up the sides and back body? And as you're ready, we'll do one last standing shape. So you're welcome to join me in standing. Take your time, there's no rush. Now for our next little series, we're going to practice working with a little bit of balance. Okay. So first, let's just begin by making those figure eights. Right? So just choosing maybe your right or left hand, just making those figure eights. They might be small, but you're also welcome to make them nice and big. Right? Figure eights representing wholeness, something very comforting about this movement for a lot of us. Just noticing what it's like to make those figure eights with that right hand or that left hand, whatever you started with, and then maybe reversing directions. And then shake it out. Good. And then we'll try it with the left hand this time, or if you started with the right, and just switch sides, same thing. Just trying that figure eight. And as you're doing this, maybe experimenting. What's it like to take up some more space? Maybe you experiment with reversing directions. And then shaking it out. And then we'll try with one of the legs. So on the leg that you're balancing on, can you spread the toes nice and wide? Take a little bend in the knee. And maybe you lift the foot off the ground, or you can trace a figure eight with the toe on the ground too. Right? But see if you can let yourself experience the wobbles. It's okay if there's a little bit of wobbles here. Right? If it's more comforting to be near a wall, you can do that too. But just making those figure eights, if the arms are moving around, that's okay. And can you reverse directions? And then shaking it out. Whew. You might notice a little bit of heat in that standing leg. And same thing, opposite side. Spread the toes nice and wide, little bend in the knee. And as you're ready, tracing the ground or lifting the leg. Seeing if you can really notice this movement from the hip. And then reversing directions. Letting yourself experience those wobbles. And shaking it out when you're ready. And then from here, the invitation is to do this again, but this time we're going to try moving from the ribs up, keeping the hips square, or without moving the hips so much. So just making those figure eights with the upper body, kind of like we did at the beginning of our practice today. And your movements can be big or they can be small. Right, trying to move the upper body irrespective of the hips to help loosen up some of that density in the core, especially the diaphragm. And see if you can reverse directions. If it's helpful, you can keep the arms out. And shaking it out. Okay. And then let's try it with the hips this time. So the hips, but not moving the upper body. So just moving the hips into little circles, maybe big circles. This one's a lot harder for me. Right, so just noticing what that movement is like for the body. Okay, shaking it out. All right, and can we introduce that same movement from the beginning, those figure eights? And then can we also bring in the opposite leg? Letting yourself wobble. Your movements can be big, they can be small. Just noticing if there's little wiggles, maybe reversing directions. Ooh, and then letting it go. And of course, you don't have to let go at the same time as me. If you did before or after, that's cool too. Let's do it one more time, this time with the opposite hand, opposite leg. Just letting this movement be playful. Maybe you try to reverse directions. See if you can notice that you're breathing here. Try not to hold the breath. Ooh, and then let it go. Shaking it out. Letting out a big sigh if that's helpful. If you want to bring the arms up and wiggle. Good. Now let's slowly make our way back down to the mat. And inviting you to choose a butterfly shape. Right? So bringing the soles of the feet together. If this doesn't feel comfortable for the knees to be up, you can also place blankets or pillows under the knees. And just bringing the hands to the ankles. On an in-breath, you might lift your chest, and on an exhale, just hinging forward. Maybe the head comes down. Good. And you might stay down there, that might be good. Or you might just introduce slow rocking motions, almost like your spine is a wave. No right or wrong. Whatever feels nourishing. Right? You might try movement and eventually you might choose stillness. That's okay too. Not forcing or straining in any way. So we're not trying to push the knees to the ground or try to get the chest down. It doesn't matter. Just noticing whatever you notice. Maybe the outer hips are experiencing a little bit of a stretch. Maybe it's the inner adductor muscles of the leg. And when you're ready, you might slowly let the shape go. Just bringing each hand to each knee, and with care and gentleness, allowing the knees to come back together. You might extend the legs forward, shaking them out a little bit. And then from here, Just like we've done in the past, you might bring a pillow underneath the knees, or if you don't need to, or if you don't wish to, that's okay too. And just slowly, just hinging forward. It's okay if your back rounds. It's also okay if you're not touching your toes. Some folks like to keep their feet straight up. Some folks like to relax their feet. So it really depends on what feels best for your body today. When you flip the feet up, what do you notice? Maybe a little bit more of a stretch in the calves. When you relax the feet, what do you notice? Just experimenting with the difference and choosing the option that feels best for you. And as you're ready, coming back up. And we're going to come into that 90-90 shape for our last seated posture. So that 90-90, you've got one leg toward the top of your mat, the other leg's towards the side. And you can sort of, right now I've got my left leg forward, so I'm just leaning on my left side. That's absolutely okay. What I invite you to do is see if you can actually press that left heel or whatever foot is forward for you into the ground, right? Not hard, but enough that you can feel a little bit of activation in the glutes. And then from here, maybe you hinge forward. You can tent up on the fingertips or bring the hands flat on the ground, but there shouldn't be any pressure on the wrists. And then all we're going to do is little pulses. So bending the elbow and pressing up. Right? So we're pressing that foot into the ground, bending the elbow, pressing up. Right? So just experimenting with how much does the body want to move. For some folks, it's just like a little push. So that's it. For others, maybe it feels okay to come closer. But again, choosing is more important than doing. Right? So can you keep pressing that foot into the ground as you move through these little pulses with the elbow? And let's do one more here. And then slowly coming back. Can you take the hands on either side of that left hip? A little pulse here too. When you're ready, shaking it out. And then switching sides, there's no rush. Opposite leg toward the top of the mat, leaning over, that's totally okay. See if you can keep the foot flexed to protect the knee and press that foot into the ground as the arms come nice and wide. Right, you might feel a stretch here in the glute, the outer hip region. And then exhale, little pulses. Keep pushing that front foot into the ground. And just noticing the intention to move the elbows. So can you just notice the pause right before you bend your elbows? And then really tuning in, where does my body want to stop today? Right? It could be half an inch, could be no movement at all. Right? There's no right or wrong. Choosing is more important than doing in this practice. And honoring the body is at the heart of it all. Just moving through maybe 3 more of these. And then nice and slow, maybe both hands come to the outside of that right leg this time, a little push up. Good. And shaking it out. And as you're ready, the invitation is to just come back to that seated shape from the beginning of practice today. Taking a moment to look around your room. Maybe even just notice if it looks any different. Does the room feel any different even from 45 minutes ago? Do you feel any different from 45 minutes ago? Is there anything in your body that's helping you to notice that difference? And if you'd like, you're welcome to bring a hand to the heart center and one over the abdomen or coming into that little hug. And just feeling the support of the hands either energetically or physically on the body. And just sensing into the support of the space between us. Maybe thanking yourself one more time for making it to this practice today. If you'd like, you're welcome to join me in one collective in breath as you're ready. And sighing it out. Thank you for sharing this practice today.